let's dive into some football. let's jump into the NFL. And let's talk about some of these divisions. Now, guys, we've been breaking down divisions so far throughout the course of this preseason of the NFL. We are covering all of these teams. We're making sure you guys know what to look out for, what kind of things happened, good or bad, additions, subtractions on these teams, and what it means for all of them going into the NFL season as we sit today. All of those videos are on our social media YouTube channel. Make sure you go check out that on it's ActionLab Sports on YouTube. The link, if you could throw that in the chat, Rec, is all in there. All the links to our Twitters where we make our updates, everything. But go check out the previous videos we put out. We have so much information in those. So go check those out. Give them a like, give them a comment. That helps spread them to a wider audience and helps us grow this channel. We want to get more people. Also, speaking of that, if you know people who will enjoy the football content, fantasy football, betting on football, you name it, share the channel, please. Go take the link to this channel, copy it, put it into your text messages to any of your friends that are on this platform or anywhere else, and we would love for you guys to get more of your friends in here and chat some sports with us. But let's dive in to our division previews. First off the bat tonight, we are talking about the NFC North. Chairman's going to be excited because we're talking about his boys. Milwaukee is going to be excited. We're talking about his boys. We have Joker's boys. We got all.
Maybe they don't like what we have to say, Chris.
They might not like what we have to say, maybe. But let's talk about this.
I got
division.
the Vikings winning this division. So.
Ooh, well, you might be. You know what's crazy? The odds of them right now, as we sit, are fascinating. I mean, we have some long shots. Carolina, obviously, we talked about them. 10-1. We have the Arizona Cardinals in their division, 13-1. Minnesota is last in the division at 8.5-1. Which, for being dead last and losing, they still have Sam Darnold in. We'll talk about them and we'll start off with them. But still, 850 right now as it sits. Currently, Detroit Lions are the best team in this division, according to FanDuel Sportsbook, at plus 130 to win it. Green Bay plus 200, so 2-1. Chicago Bears plus 340, and Minnesota plus 850. Let's get into the win totals. Win totals for these teams: the Chicago Bears win total set at 8.5. The over is an overwhelming favorite at minus 160. The under's plus 130. If you guys are curious on what these numbers mean, just go ahead and ask in the chat. A lot of you guys know, but if in case you're curious, just throw it out there on any of these betting questions, and we'll make sure to get them answered. We have the Detroit Lions over under set at 10.5. The over is minus 132, so that's the favorite. People are betting that. It looks like quite a bit to get it to 132, maybe. But people are saying they're going to be an 11-win team, according to FanDuel Sportsbook. Then we have the Green Bay Packers. Chairman says I'll take the under on, by the way, the Bears.
And then he changed it to the over.
Or the over.
They're like under on the Bears, over on the Lions.
Oh, okay.
Under on the Bears, over on the Lions.
Sounds not biased at all.
Green Bay Packers here, minus 138 to get over 9.5 wins. That's what it said at 9.5. The under is plus 112. And then finally, the Minnesota Vikings still have an over-under set at 7.5. The over is plus 134. Not a lot. As far as that goes, that's the underdog in this race. The under is an overwhelming minus 168. So, Scotty, between the division odds, Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, Minnesota in that order, or the win totals? What stands out?
I don't know if anything shockingly stands out there. As we dive into them, I might be higher and lower on some. I mean, if I'm gonna make a bet in this division, I think I bet on the Lions to win the division. Even with the the worst odds, obviously, or the lowest odds, or bet, or you know what I mean. I don't trust the Vikings. I think Chicago's a little too soon. And as we get into it, Green Bay to me,
the hype is around like Jordan Love.
The hype's a little too strong. Where like, if you really go back and watch Jordan Love last year, I mean, they were playing at a high level at the end of the year, no doubt. The playoffs, I mean, they could have even made the NFC Championship game, and then who knows? They were right there. But there were a lot of games where like that offense wasn't clicking and didn't look good with Jordan Love. So now he gets the huge deal, which is fine. But like, I think the brakes should pump a little bit on the Packers. They're talented and good, and let's also keep in mind, and I'll make a point when we get there. They're like the youngest roster in the NFL still, so they're very young. There's a lot of time for them to keep getting better and better, and maybe this isn't the year.
Yeah, I think too, and we have a lot of comments coming in the chat. I mean, Keep Close says Milwaukee's right about Jordan Love. He's not it. I mean,
the Green Bay Packers disagree.
The Green Bay Packers. I mean, there's a lot of hype. I mean, you could compare his hype almost to maybe not as much as CJ Stroud, but there's a lot of people that are really thinking Jordan Love is going to be the next big thing. Maybe, one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL moving forward based off of what they've seen from him and the progression over that spans. But again, we'll talk about the Packers here in a little bit. I'm kind of with you though. I think there's so much hype. I think we're overrating Green Bay a little too much. But the one sure thing for me is Detroit. Detroit's they're going to be in the mix for that division title, and I think that they're going to be one of the best teams in this.
Even though Jahmyr Gibbs tore his ACL and was out for a year. I was joking. I was joking. I was just seeing if anyone was paying attention.
I was.
Okay. It's possible. Is it possible 9 wins is enough for Detroit to take the division?
I don't think so.
I mean, you're going 9-8.
I think they're better than 9-8.
If they're going 9-8, that means everyone else in this division's right around there to like 500, or it's like a tiebreaker they win. Like, it's rare that you go 9-8 in division and like no one else even ties with you, like at 8, and they're all 8-9 or worse. They're gonna have to go. The winner's gonna have more than 9 wins. This isn't the NFC South of last year.
Correct.
Or the year before.
So where do you want to go ahead? We want to start since we're talking about.
Let's just get the Vikings out of the way.
Let's get the Vikings out of the way. Let's do it. So the Minnesota Vikings. So obviously had an issue with our young quarterback, so we won't be seeing any of him. We won't see JJ McCarthy getting upgraded anytime this season for them. So they're stuck with Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold, I think Keith Close mentioned something in the chat, like what are the chances that, unless they trade for a quarterback, they're not going to be very good. I don't know what their thoughts are on their quarterback room as it sits right now, but looking at what we have going for them in this division, they will be rolling with Sam Darnold. Aaron Jones was an off-season pickup. They still have Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison's handling some injury news. He's got some injuries, but he's going to be better as the season goes on. Still have TJ Hawkinson. Still, Sam Darnold has plenty of weapons. He's been taking the first team reps. So there's not really going to be too much of a drop-off, which is what we've seen in some of those weird numbers. Like you would expect, some of these things to bring them down a little bit. They're still kind of in the mix when it comes to people thinking they haven't fallen off as much. But what's the ceiling with Sam Darnold? Probably not super high. But Scotty, your thoughts on Minnesota? They finished what was they 7-10 last year?
Something like that.
So I think
2 years ago they were like 13-4.
They were 13-4. They had a lot of that was the year they had all those like really close wins where it was like a point or two within. Like they had the most wins within a point within 3 points of any other team.
Got embarrassed by the Giants of all teams.
And then they got embarrassed by the Giants.
Not embarrassed, but they lost to the Giants, which in of itself is kind of
upgrade the running back position again. Like I said, Alexander Madison to Aaron Jones. So
Madison was trash.
Madison didn't end up panning out. I know because he was on one of my fantasy rosters, and it wasn't good for me. But yeah, I mean, 7-10 last year. I would expect them to be around similar this year. I mean, that's what their over-under is set at, and I think maybe slightly under that is probably where we're aiming for. Maybe 7 wins again.
You know, Chris, when I look at this team, and obviously we covered the JJ McCarthy stuff, but like, we don't even know if JJ McCarthy was going to be good, right? So like, Sam Darnold very well could have started for the whole year. I don't think the offense is the total issue here because he's got a pretty solid offensive line in front of him. I mean, Garrett Bradbury at center, and their 2 tackles, Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill, are all very, very solid. The guard plays, but still, if you're going to be it might as well be a guard, right? Like the 3 most important positions, very good on the offensive line. You have Jay Jettas, you have Jordan Addison, who there was an injury scare today, I think, in practice, but it sounds like he's going to be all right. They're not overly worried. You have TJ Hawkinson at tight end. Like, you have, and then Aaron Jones, you had at running back after having Madison might have been the worst. I don't know what happened to that dude, but like
he
might have been the worst running back I've ever seen in my life last year. So
hey,
the
look,
offense,
I'm Alex Madison.
Even with Sam Darnold, I think is going to be pretty okay. The defense, Chris, name a player on the defense.
I mean, didn't they drafted the one kid. That was it, Dallas Turner.
Yeah, Dallas Turner. They got.
They traded away Danielle Hunter.
Yeah, Danielle Hunter's gone.
Been there forever. Great defensive end. They draft Dallas Turner, but like
Dallas
Turner's probably more of a project. You have like Byron Murphy. You still have Harrison Smith, who's like got to be 35 at this point. So
I think they
the
brought
defensive line has nothing really. Outside of if Dallas Turner is more of if it's a 3-4, like maybe but like there's nothing on the D line. The linebacker plays whatever. The safety and they signed Shaq Griffin, who is fine, but like this defense does not have needle movers to me, and frankly is just not talented enough to compete. I think they're actually the big problem on this team. They need an overhaul, and I like Dallas Turner as a start, but they have a lot more to do. This defense is just feels like it's starting from scratch. Like I'm not a fan of the players on this roster on the defensive side. So while we talk about the JJ stuff and that sucks, I think the offense will actually put up numbers even with Sam Darnold. But this defense, I don't know how they stop people. I really don't.
Yeah, it's. I think they're gonna have to just outscore teams. They just have to like put up more points than the other team and hope that they.
Yes, that's how football works.
And that's not what you want with Sam Darnold.
No, and that's another aspect of what I mentioned when we first started. It's like, what's his ceiling and how much can he elevate? I mean, I just don't know if he's gonna be able to do that based off of what we've seen, and maybe this is the change he needed to be, the full confidence in him as the starter. There's a lot of weapons around him.
Yeah, this is the best roster he's had around
by far
on an offensive side of the ball for Sam Darnold. So he doesn't need to uplift them and be a plus player. He just needs to get the ball out of his hands to his playmakers quickly and often, if possible.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but they have nice pieces, to be honest, on that offensive side of the ball. They just gotta, and hopefully JJ McCarthy next year can take the reins, and we'll see what happens there. But that defense needs work. Needs work.
Yes. Rec, anything else on Minnesota?
They do have Brian Flores, who is a great defensive mind. They just have to hope that he can come up with some good schemes to make up for the lack of talent there in the defense. Kind of like what he did in Miami at times, but it's like they really need him to prove to the world that he is the high-end defensive mind that everyone sees him as.
Yeah. Minnesota might be a little underwhelming, but in a weird way might be a little underrated. People maybe a little low on them, but even though they still have a ton of talent offensively. So maybe they could be a weird, sneaky team that could like surprise you from week to week. And maybe if they get a little bit more out of their defense than they're supposed to, I think they have a good shot to win some games that they might not normally win. So let's move on. To
it jumped on me, but this is a code yellow.
Nice.
To the highest degree.
There we go. Code yellow. Spam it in the chat. Code yellow. Let me get to the chat actually. Joking about Gibbs. Not even close to funny, says Chairman. Packers scream 8 or 9 in my opinion. Lions and Bears are good enough to collectively keep Detroit to 9, says keep close. That was my logic. I think probably be 11 or 10 wins for the Lions. So there you go. But yeah, I think Minnesota, they're an interesting team. I would probably, if I had a choice, I'd probably pick them to finish last in this division. I mean, I think the Bears are kind of in that mix. The Bears we'll get to actually next. Let's talk about the Bears next as we break down this NFC North division. So we'll wait for Sky to get back. By the way, guys, hit that follow button if you're new to the channel and you're just joining us for the first time. We have a lot of you guys chilling in the chat. And it's okay if you're not chatting. We love you guys hanging out and lurking in the background, but you can hit that follow button too and be a part of the community. Make sure you guys get all the notifications. Like Chairman says, hit that follow button. It's great to have you guys in here and talking some sports with us. We have a massive, massive NFL season ahead of us, and we cover so much content. Ask anybody in this chat. And for all you guys who are new, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat this coming season. So, all right. So the Chicago Bears. Let's talk about them a little bit. Chicago, as mentioned, they were picked. Their current odds to win the division are third best behind Detroit and Green Bay. Again, plus 340. Over under total is set at 8.5, as mentioned, and most people think that is going to be over based on the current betting lines. Now, the Chicago Bears finished last season at 7-10. So, based off of where they finished last season with 7 wins, and the fact that they're projected at least 9 wins based off of odds in FanDuel Sportsbook, they're going to be an improved team from last year from all indications. Is that going to actually come to fruition? We'll find out. But had some decent changes, and one of them has to do with the most important position on the field, and that's Caleb Williams, who takes over for Justin Fields and is going to be at the helm for the Chicago Bears. Also, some noteworthy positional additions and changes. Keenan Allen is now on this roster, which is a nice little upgrade, a nice weapon for Caleb Williams if he can stay healthy. He is getting a little older, but still can run routes and still can catch the ball. So as long as he's on the field, he can be a nice little weapon for Caleb Williams, a nice young quarterback. They also got Roma Dunze, 9th overall first-round rookie, who is an upgrade as well. They had St. Brown in that lineup last year. now they can move on. And Rome has, it looks like from
Equanimous to be exact, not to be confused with the Monra.
yeah, exactly. Rome has looked, there's some Bear fans that are thinking, man, he's looking like a number one. The way he's been playing, still, again, a rookie, 9th overall, very talented. Deontay Foreman came in. DeAndre Swift out the door, DeAndre Swift out the door in place of Foreman, who was there last year from the running back position. So some different additions here. They still have some work to do. Still young in some of these areas of this team, but they've built up a nice little roster around Caleb Williams to work with.
Rack, why don't you start? Because I'm glitching out right now. I'm potatoing right now. Hold on.
Good to know. But yeah, like everything's riding on Caleb Williams. Supposed to be one of the a top 5, at least maybe top 5 quarterback prospect ever.
Generational, supposedly.
Yeah, he's got generational abilities. Essentially, it's like everything's riding on him. They governed the offensive coordinator. They completely cleaned house. They made all these different moves to try and put Caleb Williams in a good situation. Which so far, that is an improvement from what they did with Fields and Trubisky. Oh, one thing that's just lingering in the back of every Bears fan's mind, the fact that they have never actually had a franchise quarterback since quarterbacks were a big deal. Obviously, Caleb Williams could change that, but that's just there's just that little bit inside of them that's like, oh, what if he's just the same as all the others? I mean, we'll see. He definitely has the talent and the ability to. That. Yeah, like statistically, the best quarterback ever is Jay Cutler.
Yeah,
which is wild. Yeah. As storied as the Chicago Bears, like you think of the Chicago Bears, you think big names, you think Mike Ditka, and you think
but they only got one Super Bowl.
Well,
it wasn't that offense.
Yeah, no, I mean they've been prided on their defense for so many years and haven't had that go-to guy from a quarterback standpoint. So Caleb,
they made the Super Bowl, almost 2 decades ago with Rex Grossman.
Oof, Rexy, sexy Rexy.
But that's just like eating them up.
That team was like Devin Hester literally taking kicks and punts back that got him there. I feel like
crazy.
And Urlacher.
But like the thing I remember the most about the Bears that season wasn't even the Bears. It was when they beat the Cardinals on Monday Night Football. And what's the coach of the Cardinals? Green?
Yeah, Denny Green.
Yeah. Just
they are who we thought they were.
But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember that Super Bowl though, when the Bears Peyton Manning, Colts, and Bears. Both teams played like ass that day. But Peyton actually didn't play well in that Super Bowl, but he won it. He's never played well in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Ever. Which is kind of wild because I love Peyton Manning. And in their prime, if you ask me, would I rather have Peyton Manning starting a game for me or Tom Brady? I'd take Peyton Manning. And maybe that's dumb, but that's off on a different tangent. We're talking about the Bears now, right?
Yeah, but again, we also have to see how Eberflus does. It looked like he started figuring some things out at the end of last season. Gotta see if that sticks to this season. Of course, I had him very low in my coaching rankings. Between him and Dennis Allen for the bottom spot.
By the way,
we gotta see if Eberflus can pick it up.
By the way, all on they're doing the Hard Knocks as we speak right now, so they're going to be doing that weekly. We get a little taste of that each and every single show of like Eberflus and how his style is, along with Caleb Williams getting a close up on what he is looking like in the preseason. So yeah, so there, if you're looking for something to watch, that's the one. I'm going to take my code yellow. Scotty, what else do you have on the Bears?
The more I look at the Bears, the more I like the Bears, weirdly, which just sounds weird. Like, I mean, you look at this offense. It's not that dissimilar to the Vikings and how I kind of like it. outside of unpredictable quarterback play. But they have Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick, and they have more depth, frankly, at weapons. Like they go 3 deep at wide receiver with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze. Like that has the potential to be the best wide receiving core in the NFL, potentially. Like I don't know if you have a mega superstar number 1, unless Rome Odunze takes a huge jump. But Keenan Allen's been top 10 for like years and slept on. DJ Moore's top 10-ish wide receiver in the league, and Rome Odunze is a top 10 pick. Like that, Cole Kmet, I've always kind of liked at tight end. They just haven't had a guy that could throw in the ball. They had Gerald Everett, the starting tight end from the Chargers the last couple of years. He's getting older up there, but I like the Darnell Wright at right tackle is a stud. So they have some pieces on the line. I like Tevin Jenkins at guard, former early pick out of Oklahoma State. And the defense has guys like they gave Jalen Johnson the bag, right, at corner. Montez Sweat they traded for at the trade deadline last year, so he helped them towards the down the stretch. They added Tremaine Edmonds at linebacker from Buffalo, who I like a lot. I like Jaquan Brisker at safety a lot. Kevin Bayard getting up there, but like a leader on that defense at the other safety spot. There's actually a lot of pieces here where I think the Bears are very much becoming the Lions of maybe a couple years
ago.
Yeah. They might be building into that next kind of like this team just suck forever, whatever. No offense, Chairman. But they have a roster around them. And if Caleb Williams is who I think the Bears hope that he is, like this team's going to be very legit, very quick based off all the team, the guys they have around them. Because that roster, and yes, I'm biased because it was a former Chiefs front office guy. That's the GM and Ryan Poles for the Bears. But I think he's done a great job outside of certain trade for a wide receiver from Pittsburgh. That was his big blunder.
Thanks again.
Yeah, well, it's done a lot of good for you. So
we did get a top 5 corner out of the deal.
We'll see. No, top 5 corner on like your roster. Stop it.
In the league.
Stop it. Get out of here. That's embarrassing. Wreck. We can't even let you on next stream if you're going to talk stupid.
Well, now you're banned.
About your team. But yeah, this roster's nice. The more I look at it, the more I like it. And it's Chairman says it's all on Caleb Williams, but like I've seen worse places to be than like riding on the number 1 overall pick who has certainly some traits that are pretty damn nice.
I mean, that wide receiver core, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. Yeah. I mean, Cole Kmet. Pick up Gerald Everett too. By the way. You this time you weren't listening because you were going to the bathroom. Yeah.
Okay, Scott, I don't know about being the best possible. I believe Houston, Minnesota, and even Green Bay will have far better wide receiver stats.
Green Bay
better stats. Green Bay, by the way.
Let's talk about the Packers now.
Dan
Orlovsky
ranked pass catchers in the NFC North, and he ranked Green Bay 1. And I'm listen, they have depth.
Christian Watson.
They have depth, but who's a guy that like I literally, if you gave me Christian Watson, but like long term, if you gave me, or like even this year, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze, I might not have Christian Watson above any of those, but we'll get into those soon. But Dan likes hot takes sometimes, and he's not always the smartest guy in the room. So,
I think Dan Orlovsky's starting to get into that, like that.
I think he's just trying to say dumb shit. I hope for his sake, he's just trying to say dumb shit to stir the pot.
He feels like the NFL version of Kendrick Perkins at times, where he just like throws stuff out there, and you're just like, wait, like what? What are we? What did you just say?
It's kind of known for that. It's kind of known for being one of the dumber people out there, and also farting on camera repeatedly.
Well, let's talk about Green Bay. Let's just jump in on it. So Green Bay coming in here now. Obviously, we talked a little bit about them and where they stand, second in the division according to FanDuel Sportsbook, and also they are all over under set at 9.5 in Vegas. So that being said, they finished 9-8 last year. So this time they are putting
They finished at what, Chris? Last year?
Didn't they finish? What did they finish? 9-8 last year?
Yeah,
I don't think.
But how people are hyping them, you'd assume they finished like 13-4.
Yeah. Well, you would think because Green Bay, yeah, they're. I mean, 9.5 wins is the over is the favorite, and that's about where they were last year. So they're going to be almost the same level as what they were last year if we're reading into the odds as we see them right now. And then you're looking at their roster. Obviously, Jordan Love is in a battle with Mr. Clifford because everyone thinks all of a sudden Clifford in our community is like the best quarterback on the planet. He's coming.
No, it's Cooper. Cooper's the best quarterback.
Don't let him come. I'm going to come. No.
Oh, okay. Don't clip
That's
that.
a reference to
don't clip that one.
Actually involves the presidential candidate. So you guys.
And now you're banned.
Getting,
can't ban me on my own show.
Lab after dark. Jordan Love leading this offense. Josh Jacobs is an addition to this team. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Jaden Reed round out the top receivers, at least as it sits right now. Luke Musgrave is the tight end on that front. So, defensive side, Jair Alexander, some Isaiah McDuffie and a company are going to be kind of leading this defensive side of the football. But in also adding Xavier McKinney on the as a safety from last year, upgrading over Darnell Savage.
That's a push.
It's
best.
Maybe a push, maybe it is. But also, first round rookie overall, 25th pick, Jordan Morgan from the offensive tackle, trying to make sure that Jordan Love has a little protection there as well. But Scotty, we were talking a little bit. We kind of prefaced the Green Bay Packers. Lot of hype. People are just all over Jordan Love as the next big thing. Yet everything indicates they're going to be pretty much the same team.
Yeah, they got hot late, which that's what people remember, right? Like they played well down the stretch. They're young. People think that that just continues. You flip a switch, that progresses on to next year. That's not really how the NFL works. Otherwise, the same teams would always make it, Chris. Dan Orlovsky, of course, ranked this, as I just talked about, the best pass catching core along with wide receiver and tight end in the league. Let me just say they're leading, or not in the league. I'm sorry, number one in the NFC North, which is still as egregious as it comes. Like Jaden Reed led them with 793 yards last year. Romeo Doubs had 674. Christian Watson only had 422, but he only played half the season. But that still doesn't go. He played 9 games. That doesn't get to 1,000. You don't have an 1,000-yard guy on your roster, and you're number one. And he was like, my criteria was like 5 good pass catchers. I'm like, I would rather have a couple elite pass catchers because he ranked, spoiler, Chairman, Detroit last in pass catchers in this league.
And he's a lion.
And they might have, lion. I mean, they have Amon Ra and Sam Laporta. You might have he's certainly a top 3 tight end minimum. And Amon Ra is like a top 5 wide receiver. And they're last. Jameson Williams, by the way, he exists. I don't know. Just shit drives me nuts with people what they say. Jordan Love, man, so good. I mean, if you probably look at his stats, it was similar to Baker Mayfield's. Maybe not quite as good. Actually, I mean, he threw a lot of it, TDs and not a lot of picks. So props to him for that. You talk about they trade out Aaron Jones for Josh Jacobs. In my opinion, that's a downgrade. I don't I don't understand that move. I think Josh Jacobs, outside of one season, was it 2 years ago? 2 or 3 years ago with the Raiders, has been mid to below mid the rest of the way. This defense, I mean, this team is so young. So, like, there's time. I'm not doubting this team can't be in contention. I just don't. I feel people are overhyping them based off what they saw at the end. The defense is not. You got Rashawn Gary, you got Quay Walker, who I like a lot. You have Preston Smith in the middle that they picked up from Washington. Xavier McKinney, you talked about, it's fine. Jair Alexander, obviously one of the better corners in the league when he's healthy. He was a little beat up last year, but nice pieces. Certainly, it's a probably above average defense. It's not an elite defense. And I just think this offense actually regresses. I don't know if they can find the rhythm that they did down the stretch, especially with like these playmakers. And we'll see. Christian Watson is injury prone as it gets so far in his career. So like that dude happened to be healthy at the end of the year, but wasn't healthy for the first half of the year. Like he wasn't the prior year. Like he wasn't the prior, or maybe this is only his third year. I can't remember if this is year 2 or 3 for him, or 3 or 4. But I just think people are overhyping it a little bit. Tight end Luke Musgrave, I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Despite and Tucker Kraft's fine as the backup, so you kind of have a 2 tight end set there. The offensive line is good, very very good. So you're fine there. I just think people should chill.
Yeah.
Chill out a little bit.
We just need to do
RELAX.
You're talking about their
in the
offensive
opposite.
line? Yeah. About their line, like, again, like they, again, like Jordan Morgan, he might be good. We don't know, but like
Rookie, yeah.
you're not replacing David Bakhtiari. That's just not happening.
But to be fair, David Bakhtiari wasn't playing for them.
I mean, that's also true.
Yeah, he hasn't played in years.
Yeah, it's always injured.
Yeah.
So yeah, running game definitely took a downturn. Defense, it kind of just relying on a Rashawn Gary and a Jair. There's not a whole lot else out. I guess Xavier McKinney, but
Kenny
not
Clark's
whole lot.
Kenny Clark's good on the interior D line.
It's just that, like they have they have depth pieces all across the team. Like, is that enough to like can they gel enough to make a cohesive unit and play well without a superstar?
I mean, it's just ironic. People don't remember this team was 9-8. They weren't elite last year, but they look at them as elite because of what they did down the stretch.
Well, and you look at Jordan Love's stats from last year, right? Like, I mean, from a QBR standpoint, finished the season with a 62 QBR, 64% completion, 4,159 yards, 32 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. So, I mean, you would expect those to hopefully get better for them, but at the same time, it's like for all of the love that Love is getting, you would have thought that he only had he has 40 touchdowns and 2 picks based off of everything that everyone's been saying about him. So, it's going to be interesting this year with Green Bay. I think they can be an interesting team for sure, be in that second position. I still don't think anyone's going to be dethroning the team we're talking about next in this division. So anything else, guys, on Green Bay before we move on to Detroit?
No.
Okay. Let's move on to Detroit. Detroit is the America's darling. Is it? Dare I say America's team? Does everyone want Detroit to succeed?
Yes.
And just do everything they possibly can to make it to a Super Bowl? I think so. Chairman, I think you're part of that as well. The Detroit Lions are favorites to win this division, and they are on the track based off of FanDuel Sportsbook to win at least 11 games this season. So, a lot to like about Detroit. Jared Goff, obviously returning. David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the best wide receivers. Jameson Williams. Khalif Raymond still rounds out their wide receiver core. Sam Laporta, standout tight end, who's been making a name for himself early on in his career, has been absolutely incredible. On the defensive side, you see him on here. Aiden Hutchinson is continuing to get a lot better as well, leading that whole entire defensive unit. But Detroit last season 12-5. So, the fact that we're looking at them right now and seeing that their win totals around 11 or so, 11 or more potentially, is kind of tracking that they're going to have a similar season potentially this year compared to last year, maybe a step back. But we'll see. But they're still probably looking at America's team, right, Chairman? So that being said, first round pick, 24th overall, Terrion Arnold was an addition on the back end of that defense. So we'll see if he ends up making initial impact as well. Scotty, anything you love about Detroit and their chances of doing what they did last year? 12.
Kind of what I've said with some of these other rosters. This offense is loaded. I mean, it's loaded. Between the pass catchers and Amon Ra and Jameson Williams and Sam Laporta, you have Penei Sewell, who's arguably the best tackle in the game right now. Like, he's that good. A really good offensive line to play around. Jared Goff is, in my mind, like, especially with what he has around him, is like, it's a perfect situation. If he wasn't in the good offensive line and stuff like that, I think you'd have problems. But Jared Goff's perfectly fine for what this offense is. This has the potential, along with Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery still at running back, to be the number one offense in the NFL this year. Like, that's manageable for them to have that. The defense, kind of like some of these others, like, I worry more about. Obviously, you have Aiden Hutchinson, superstar edge, love him. Jack Campbell was a nice linebacker piece last year, no doubt about it. The secondary makes me nervous. The secondary is where I have concerns. I like Brian Branch, second-year guy at safety. You have a rookie likely corner out of Alabama as well. So you're just going Alabama secondary, which there's worse things to do. With Terrion Arnold, likely fill in one of those spots, along with Carlton Davis, who has had a nice career in Tampa, but getting up there in age, and like, and your nickels like Amik Robertson from Vegas, who's a little hit and miss. So I don't like the defense as much. I have concerns there outside of like Aiden Hutchinson, Jack Campbell, and Brian Branch. Those are like the three cornerstones. I actually like, who's the guy? I can't even think of his name right now. He's in Philly. No, he's not on the team. He was on the team last year. He was a safety. He was with Philly.
CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Sets
Same
like
guy.
I kind of think they're gonna miss him, even though he was hurt some. I know that, but like, he's like a guy that just like clearly in Philly. Now he's back in Philly, I think.
Yes.
Just kind of like, I hate him as a opponent, but like, and he's probably dirty and stuff like that. But I think he's a great leader and can bring a defense and make them better than what they are. So this roster offensively is stacked. I think the defense can be good. I don't know if they're going to be, I don't know if they have the pieces to be great defensively. So we'll see how that balances out. But like, this is the most expectations they've ever had before. So we'll see how that plays. But like, yeah, the whole world's going to be cheering for Detroit. Like, if Detroit makes a Super Bowl, doesn't even matter who they play on the other side. 90% of the world is going to be cheering for Detroit.
True.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you have Brian Branch switching from the nickel back to the safety, so we'll have to see how that transition goes. Yeah.
It was kind of his shtick coming out, though. He was kind of like, you can place him anywhere.
Yeah. The secondary was just outright trash last year. they had Cameron Sutton. They put him at the 1, which you don't ever do that. What's the other dude from Atlanta? The draft bust from Atlanta that they got.
Yeah, the
The corner, like he sucked.
top 10 guy. I can't think of his name right now, but Chairman will put it in the chat probably.
Yeah. Chad, y'all know who I'm talking
Chairman
about.
thinks CJ or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was a bust. Didn't fit. I think clearly there's some. He's clearly all about himself, all about himself in ways, but like, I don't know. It seemed like when he's out there, defenses seem to play better. Maybe you just want to prove him wrong. I don't know. There's something to be said for that at times. Who was the corner? Who were the
draft bust? Draft bust from Atlanta. You gave up like a 5th round pick to get him, and he did nothing. Yeah, look, it's one of those things.
Not to be confused with the draft bust you guys took in the top 5 that you traded away.
Give the slice idea of how low that narrows it down.
It's interesting though. I think we've looked at wide receiver cores, and they're just getting better and better across the board because of
NFC North. NFC North's pretty stacked.
NFC North is stacked, but I mean, last year, we were talking about some of the Eagles are stacked, the Dolphins are stacked. You're starting to see more and more just teams that just put, because you're more likely to hit on these wide receiver talents in the first round and the first top 10, and they're just more coveted based off of that, and that's kind of the way the game has shifted, right? Like, it's not the days of the 90s and early 2000s where you're running the ball anymore, and like teams are just nailing pick after pick. I mean, you look at how many busts wide receivers have we had in the last couple drafts that are within like the top 15 picks? I feel like we don't have too many. I mean, there's probably a handful, but like overwhelmingly, I feel like I don't know. I'm just I might be completely off, but I'm just thinking like it's just more of a sure thing. And I guess it also depends on where you get drafted and who's your quarterback too. But even still, I mean, Chicago has a nice little wide receiver core, right? Like they've prioritized putting together weapons offensively. So, anyways, you're going to see more and more just stacked wide receiver groups across the board. That's just the way it is. All right.
Was he not a first round pick? Because I don't even see him on the list. Like, no, I really thought he was like a top pick.
Now I'm trying to think of who you're talking about.
Yeah, I've confused myself.
I just assumed you were right, but now I'm like, I don't know.
Okay.
You might have been very wrong.
Yeah. Google's not even doing it. Lions Falcons trade. Jeff Okuda, that's who it was.
No, he was drafted by the Lions.
Oh, with the other
Lions draft pick. Yeah. They traded him away. That's who I was referring to after the fact. Yeah, the Lions.
I thought one went the other way. I had it asked backwards. Okay.
Yeah, you sure did.
Never mind.
How are you doing, Ash?
Well, either which way, they had another corner that sucked ass along with Sutton.
Although I don't even know if Kuda was there last year, but
well, yeah, he wasn't there last year because he got traded.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. So that puts a bow on the NFC North division. So let's move on. Let's move on to the next division and one of the last divisions as we approach the only 2 more coming up on Sunday night. So guys, stay tuned, hit that follow button. If we have the big ones coming up. We have the AFC West and the AFC North. All of our teams,
best division.
All of our teams that we follow very religiously are going to be covered on Sunday night, and you're not going to want to miss a single minute of that.
Don't want to miss that Broncos hype coverage.
That Broncos hype, the Chiefs downfall.
It's not Chiefs hype yet. The Chiefs downfall. They're going to lose in the Super Bowl the last minute? What do you mean? Is that a downfall?
And whatever the Steelers are. So
nobody cares.
Highly talented team.